Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brandy Canali, here with Will Slickers at VRMA. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, living the dream.
All right, and we are here with the founder of bnbfinder. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your story?
Absolutely. So just to clarify, I'm not the founder of bnbfinder. I'm the current owner of bnbfinder.
Current owner, yes.
The company was actually founded back in 1998, back a little bit after I started a company called bnbfinder.com, which I started in 95. So sort of when Al Gore invented the interweb, I invented bnbfinder.com. And it was born out of my wife and I liked to stay at bed and breakfast, and everything was guidebooks back then. And so the thought was, okay, we need to put it all online. And one thing led to another, and we ended up creating the leading website for true bed and breakfasts in the world. And we had the property management software we distributed to Expedia, Travelocity, et cetera. And then I ended up selling that in 2010 to HomeAway. And they went on to sell to Expedia, as you probably know. And I saw an opportunity over time through my experiences from bnbfinder.com and onward, because after I sold bnbfinder.com, took some time with the family. I got involved and we co-founded a company called TurnKey Vacation Rentals. And we grew that to be the second largest property management company in North America. And then we sold it to Vacasa a couple of years ago. And through all that, as an aside, my business partner and I acquired an inn outside of Austin, Texas, 20-room inn. And just through all of these different things and being in the industry for as long as I have, whatever that is, I was told there'd be no math this morning. 28
No math,
years.
it's okay.
Yeah. 28 years. We just saw that things were getting a little bit crazy for travelers and for innkeepers and for homeowners. And we felt that we had the ability to bring a solution to the market. So I acquired bnbfinder from Mary White, the original founder of the company, back in April of 2019. It needed some love. Let's put it that way. It was sort of a janky WordPress site with a logo, I think, that was still designed back from the 90s. So we got to work. I brought the band back together from bnbfinder.com, and we built a foundational architecture to scale the business. Focused on true bed and breakfasts for the first 3 years as we built the tech stack and pulled the team together, proved the model. And then several months ago, I guess late spring, we said, okay, well, it's time to move into the vacation rental space. Yeah. So here we are, our first VRMA.
Your first VRMA. Well, welcome.
Yeah, feels like old times.
Yeah, there's so many things that are going on in my head right now. And one of them is just you've had this, knack for starting companies and then selling them to kind of some big names in the space. What's drawn you to, through those journeys, within hospitality?
Yeah, I've always loved hospitality. I'm not sure why. Before bnbfinder.com, I was the guy that, I can't remember the name of the cool little store, but they had these trays of hospitality things for guests. And we had a guest, my wife and I had a guest bedroom, and I'm like, oh, I want to put those trays for our guests in the room. And let's have ice water in a nice pitcher in the room for guests. I don't know. And then, I'm a big believer that life's about relationships, and I think travel basically supports that. If you're traveling by yourself, I guess it's a different thing. You're still meeting people and you're building relationships. Most often you travel with a group of people, if not your spouse or your significant other. And it's about building, experiences in different places. So I've always been a big fan of that. And I think the entrepreneurship just came out of, it feels like it was sort of innate. I was the kid that in elementary, I was always dreaming up little business ideas for the neighborhood, right? Whether it was a little fair or I grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas, and whether collecting shells on the beach and going door to door and selling to neighbors. I mean, hokey stuff, but I don't know where it came from. And I was just fortunate that a passion, staying in bed and breakfasts in the 90s was tough. And so I thought, okay, we could come up with a better solution. It was predicated on the fact that when my wife and I went to buy our first house, I mean, this is pre-internet, and we're looking in the newspaper and circling, 100-word descriptions of a house that you may want to buy. And we would drive by something that sounded great and it looked great. And next door was a 7-Eleven, or something. So I told my wife, I'm like, somebody needs to take all of the real estate information, and you should be able to go into a realtor's house. I didn't say go to the internet. Go into a realtor's office. I think I said house. Go into a realtor's office and say, I want this zip code. I want this many bedrooms. I want this price range, and see a front picture of the house and the floor plan. And then like in 3 minutes, you could decide which houses you want to go to. And I was fresh out of college, and I quickly said, yeah, that's above my pay grade. Mm-hmm. Went on, I got a corporate job. And then when we were staying, we were in Dallas. And when we'd go out to Tyler or down to Granbury and finding bed and breakfast, I just realized that it's the same problem. And it was something I could get my arms around.
Okay. So when we first met, you and I, you told me this story, how you got into the industry, and you have such a history. And I think the question that was running through my head, not only, seeing your passion for hospitality and what you are building with bnbfinder now, but what made you want to get back into the industry after 2 really successful, I'm assuming successful exits? Like most founders, they work their butt off to get to that point, and then they're looking to pretty much be done. Like they don't want to come back, or they don't want to.
Well, that's a great question. And I think it depends on how you look at what you're doing. And I don't look at it as work. To me, it's the fun part. Not that, I mean, I've done my share of paddleboarding and foiling and, whatever it is. I love to enjoy life, but I love seeing a need in a market and putting an amazing team of people together and delivering a solution. And I think I just, through the path of my life with bnbfinder.com and TurnKey and Sage Hill Inn and Spa, I was in a unique position to see the opportunity that, what started as a less expensive way to travel with sort of air bed and breakfast, which I remember when I met Brian Chesky the very first time, or frankly, the only time, was at a bed and breakfast conference. And I'm like, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. An air mattress on the floor. Yeah. No, I mean, amazing. He and his team they found the need, and they've done an amazing job. I just think that it's gotten a little out of hand, and everywhere you turn, whether, it's Uber or it's, Swimply, the Airbnb of pools, everybody wants their vig or their juice, and it's the consumer's ultimately paying for it in the 20 to 25 to 30% range. And so I get the benefit of, some of that centralized, I've got insurance for the stay, et cetera. But I think it's just gotten really expensive, and too much of the money is going to someone other than the hospitality provider. And I think that hospitality has sort of been pulled out of the mix. I mean, yes, if there's a problem, you can call whichever big OTA that you book through, and hopefully after someone gets back to you within several days or, at some point. But there's already a lot of people in this industry that's what they do for a living. They're professional property managers, whether they're innkeepers or hoteliers, or they're vacation rental property management or short-term property management companies. So we felt that if we could create a site that aggregated all of these vacation rentals and short-term stays and eventually longer-term stays, and give travelers a place where they could do, a first-class UI UX website, find a property and book it through a professional, then not only were they going to save 20% of their stay, which opens up a lot of, what do you do with that money? Do you stay longer? Do you pay for your family's travel expenses? Do you bring in chefs or go get massages or go to Disney World because it's whatever, $200 a day? Mm-hmm. But you also get better hospitality. because you have a professional on the ground in that location. You're not going to show up and have someone's dirty underwear under the bed because it's their house.
Yeah. There's been a lot of conversations. I think there was a panel yesterday called like the OTA wars, which I think is a little bit dramatic, but
Everything's dramatic
everything
nowadays.
is dramatic. And so you've talked about kind of like this changing landscape. What is the attitude of the property managers that you're working with? Are you getting a sense that they're just kind of tired of, these classic OTAs and they're looking for something different?
Definitely getting that sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
I might be one of them.
yeah, no, it's crazy. I've never started a company where the customers were so like, thank goodness. Yes, come on, we're in. I mean, virtually 100% of property managers that we speak with, we hear that we hear that frustration and they want to sign up. I think for us, it's just making sure property managers understand that we're a team we don't say this on our website because we think people would discredit it, but among our team, we've got over 100 years of experience in the travel space online. So we know what we're doing, and it's just making sure that property managers understand what we're doing and what our model is, because we like to think of ourselves, and we sort of are, the first OTA that was built for property managers. I mean, our goal is to drive consumers to the existing PMs, right? We're a book direct site. We're not charging the traveler 20%, 15%, whatever it is, fee. And for property managers, they can onboard and participate for free as well, get all their listings on our site. If and when they feel that they need additional exposure, then they can upgrade as many or as few listings that they have on our site as they want on a monthly basis. They don't have to pay us for a year. They don't have to do all their properties. They don't have to sign a contract. You onboard 5 new homeowners in a certain month. You may want to boost them up higher in the results page to get a little more exposure for the next 2-3 months so they can get a little more traffic right out of the gate. It may be that you're completely out of inventory in June and July, maybe even August. Well, we don't want your money. Don't pay us if you don't need traffic. Use our standard listing. Be on the site so travelers can find you that maybe have a 6-month booking window, or they'll remember you for next time. Or guess what? Your brand is on our site. Your text, they can text you, they can call you, they can email you right from our site. We're not trying to control that. At least you get that customer to put them in your database to start doing a drip campaign.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. Every year it seems like as an operator, we're getting less and less customer information, and we just there's all sorts of crazy creative ways we're trying to get their emails. So it's really kind of refreshing to that we get to keep the guests.
How many
as the
ways
guests.
can you spell out your phone number?
I know. Yeah, exactly. And so that's lovely to hear because you as the operator, you're the one that's actually putting together the whole experience. Like all the operations are yours. So this feels more like a partnership than sometimes it can feel a little one-sided.
Well, for sure. I mean, and that's what we're about. I mean, yeah, it's yes. Hard stop.
Yeah.
Hard stop.
Well, I'm curious, you being a multi-founder, right? And you mentioned you get to kind of work with the same team again that you once did before. So I have a 2-part question for you. First one's really easy. How does it
Short
feel?
answer is no.
Okay. The first one's easy though, and what does it feel like to be able to come back and basically assemble your Avengers, right? Like, hey, the gang's getting back together.
Great.
It feels good.
Yeah. It feels really good. This being our first VRMA conference, I was telling the team last night after day one that it felt like sort of the end of bnbfinder.com, not the end, but right before we sold it after 15 years of building that business. Well, this felt like that was still going. Mm-hmm. So right out of the gate, people understand what we're doing. I mean, I was explaining innkeepers what the internet was, right? back in 96, our first conference, California Association of Bed and Breakfast Inns, CABI, in East Bay up in San Francisco. And people were like, what's the internet? Obviously now everybody, Airbnb, Vrbo, bookings, those guys, the internet, I mean, everyone understands what it is now and they know what they're frustrated with, and we're solving that frustration.
Yeah.
So It's and truth be told, we're really not selling.
Yeah.
Right. We're not trying to get someone to pay us, trying to get them on the site so they can get exposure. So it's real easy. It's just conveying that. And back to your more direct question, bringing the team together, and it's not all the team, obviously. And we've added a lot of folks to the team that weren't with us, but they were with Vrbo, or they were with HomeAway, or they were with Expedia, which is why we have the 100 years. But it's great because we've run the playbook before. Not that it's exactly the same, right? Bed and breakfast industry is a smaller industry. It's easy to be a leader, easier in a small industry like that. Now we're playing with the big boys, but I think we're going to bring enough value to property managers and to travelers that word of mouth, I think, will quickly make people aware of us. Getting to be on the trade show floor with the team, working with people that know what they're doing and we can execute quickly and effectively. And we sort of know what we have to do. Not that guarantees that we can do it all, but it's fun. It's really a lot of fun.
Well, I was going to say, you mostly answered my second question, but I still want to ask you because I'm curious to hear what your direct answer would be to a property manager or somebody who comes up to you and goes, bnbfinder, you're a new channel for me. It's free. You have all these perks. You have all this stuff that's, making it really enticing for a property manager to join.
I think my ride's here.
Oh, there it is. For all the listeners, you can't hear it, but
Helicopter.
Yeah.
And,
it sounds like all these great things, right? And you're getting people really excited to want to freely list their properties on your site. What's preventing you guys or you from, becoming the next Airbnb that changes that, where you don't give emails, you don't give phone numbers, you don't give control or freedom, to the traveler and the property manager?
Yeah, Will, that's a great question. And I think if you look at what would happen to our cost structure if we change that model, then we're directly competing with Airbnb and Vrbo and the big OTAs. We're not going to be able to scale more effectively than they did. They've got such volume that their credit card processing rate is going to be way less than I can get. Their, call centers, if we were to start being the merchant of record and not give that information to the property manager and pass that through, we've got to have 24/7 support around the world in multi-language. We've got to process all these credit cards. We've got to remit all of these payments. We've got to deal with the fraud. It's a different business.
Yeah.
I don't think we could go into that business and be effective or competitive any more than I think that the big guys that are publicly traded and worth billions of dollars can change their model and give that up and start doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're compatible in that there's people that are always going to want to book with a brand, whether it's Airbnb, Vrbo, Bookings, Expedia, or whomever. And we're not going to change that for property managers or travelers. Great. They exist. Go book it there. There's a lot of people, sort of everyone I've spoken with, that's like, wait, I can save 20% and I get a professionally hosted property. You may have heard, I'm sure this happens to everyone. I think Airbnb pulled 168,000 fraudulent listings off their site a couple of weeks ago. Well, we only list properties through property managers, right? And we use Trulio to do background checks. We do background checks on all of our PMs. So all of our supply is legit unless it's the background check doesn't catch it. Obviously it's not 100%. But I think it's a competitive situation where the big OTAs provide an answer and a solution for a portion of the market. And I think that we'll provide a good solution for a portion of the market. If I get asked occasionally, well, so your traveler is going to be the cheap traveler, the traveler that just wants the deal. I don't think that at all, right? The analogy that I use is my son just out of school a couple of years. If he and his fiance are traveling somewhere and they're spending $150 a night for 2 nights, saving $60 is material for them.
Yeah.
It's going to pay for their dinner and gas for their travel or whatever. They're probably driving. if my wife and I are taking the family skiing and we're spending $5,000 a night for a week, 35,000, saving $7,000 is material to me.
Yeah.
So
Just a little bit.
it's all relative.
Yeah.
It's people that value their money, I think will, the data, I don't know if it's Focusrite or if it's Skiff, but the data shows that people look at 3 to 5 sites before they book.
Yep.
We just have to be in that mix. And I think we will. I think people, I know I do it. I'm sure you guys do it. You look at Airbnb, you look at Vrbo. I mean, if I'm going to go stay somewhere for a week, I want to know my options.
Yeah.
And if I see it on Airbnb, and it's on Vrbo and Booking or wherever, Expedia, but it's on our site, I'm going to book it through our site. And we all know that. We all know people, and maybe we do it ourselves, but you find a property and, you right click on the image so you can figure out where that image is on the web somewhere else so you can book it direct. Or, you see the property management company name, and although the site won't let you contact them through the communications platform in app, you go Google, Sanibel Vacation Rentals. Oh, there's the house, and you book direct.
Yeah.
We're just making that easy.
So you covered data briefly just now, Focusrite, Skiff, kind of putting out this information and all that good stuff. What are you guys seeing? You've seen the industry shift through so many cycles with your acquisition to HomeAway to then TurnKey to Vacasa. That's a lot of history, and a lot of, things that we hear is that history repeats itself. So what are you seeing? Are you seeing history repeat itself with kind of what you guys are doing at bnbfinder, or is there anything different?
That's a fair question. I would say that I don't have the magic ball solely because we're not the merchant of record. And we've not gone out to the consumer, the traveler side of the marketplace yet. So we're not at scale yet, right? Most of our traffic so far is still coming to the site because of our bed and breakfast lineage of 28 years, right? We've got good domain authority, having a site that's been live that long, et cetera. I think, our plan is before we go out and let the traveling public know that we exist, we've got to have scale on the property side and the PM side. And the site's got to be one that we feel good about it. And I feel great about the site. Our dev team, they're rock stars, but it's not quite where we want it to be. There's a few features that we're building right now that I think will sort of table stakes things that will make us proud of it. And obviously it's our dev pipeline probably takes us through 25. I don't know, but but we've got a lot of stuff in the pipe to deliver. So the plan is let's let the supply know that we exist and what a great option we are. Let's get them on board. Let's continue building out features on the site. Our iOS app, native app, will launch next month in November. And then we'll go out to the traveling side of the equation early in Q1 with, we're already doing SEO work, but doing SEM, doing social, doing PR, word of mouth. You guys, I don't know if you're, we do things like we've been working with Wheel of Fortune for over 12 years now. And I know that sounds a little hokey. Who watches Wheel of Fortune?
A lot. I think a lot of people watch
you're
Wheel of
watchers,
Fortune.
Yeah, you're watching Vanna, not Wheel of Fortune. That doesn't count. No, but it's the largest syndicated TV show in the world.
Yeah.
And we work with those guys on the getaway weeks and B&B weeks and vacation rental stuff. And so we'll lean into that more. We're starting now, but in Q1, we'll start focusing on that. And I think that'll put us in a better position to sort of see what the market's doing. I think most of our data so far has been more honestly reading the same stuff that everyone else is reading about what happened during COVID, what's happening now that COVID's over. Supplies up 19% last year, but travel's up, a little 2%. Bit lower percent. Yeah. So reservations overall are up, but ADR's down because supply's up. I mean, it's the standard stuff that we're seeing. And that all makes sense, right? People that weren't going to get on a plane and go stay at a hotel last year, the year before, they're here at Disney.
Yeah. I really love the Wheel of Fortune idea. I think that those kind of creative marketing tactics, I mean, if it works, and I think that the creativity is what helps you win in the long run. And I just really think it's so refreshing how self-aware you are as a company. Like, you're not trying to say, we're going to go out and outspend Airbnb on like ad spend, because that's just, I mean, probably not possible
Right,
at this
right.
stage. And I think that that's great. You're trying to carve your own path forward. And I think that the traveler is becoming more savvy. Like you said, you're going to have several different sites up, and people are willing to do a little bit more research about like where they're staying. And I do think that operators are looking around and trying to diversify the channels where you're getting your revenue from. You never want to be too reliant on one OTA. And so I think people, as you're building your supply, that people will be really open to that, because, you want to have a good mix. And maybe this is a whole new demographic of people that are finding you through looking up, an inn that they might have stayed, but then they see this beautiful house in the Smoky Ridge Mountains or wherever. And then you get a new customer that's interested in the vacation rental industry.
Absolutely. If I'm a property manager, I'm not, and we're not going to advocate that you do pull off of any of the big OTAs. You should be there, right? You don't pay until you get a reservation, but we've de-risked it completely. You should be on our site because you're going to pick up those travelers that are out there shopping and see you on our site. And you're going to be able to move share from a channel that's not only more expensive for the traveler, but more expensive for you, because you're either on our site for free or you're paying a low monthly fee. You're not paying a commission. And, we don't have the data to back this yet, but anecdotally, in speaking with property managers, my understanding is that when they get full communication during the booking process, not through a controlled comm channel, their conversion goes up by up to 100%, because they're able to really understand, not through AI and filters and, oh, well, you might like this property. No, they're talking with the potential guest, and they understand what they're traveling for and who's traveling and what they're looking for and who's in a better position I'm going to advocate that I don't care how good your tech stack is, a human that has been inside of every one of these properties, because they're the ones that manage it and they're in the market, they're going to be able to do a better job of matching a traveler to a property than a website is. And so we think that's key.
Yeah, I think what's really special about this industry is that there's a lot of operators here who just really care about not only their guests, obviously, but the product and the industry itself. And they want to be more involved. And there's been this tug of war, especially in the last year or two, the tech versus the personal touch and finding that balance. But I think what's special about this industry and hospitality in general is wanting that human touch and that human connection, and really making, people have sometimes only 10 days of vacation a year. So making sure that we're coming to your property, you're giving them the best experience possible.
It's important. I mean, I get the technology side. All right. I'm not trying to talk down to it. I mean, that's what we did at TurnKey, right?
Yeah.
The way we created the second largest property management company in North America was a tech-enabled PM. So you need tech. Tech isn't going away. We're just big believers that a professional property manager that has been into the properties and that is in the market and that does this for a living is going to care more about that traveler and making sure that they have a great stay than a big OTA.
And so you had experience in the B&B and in world and the VR world. Do you have a favorite child?
I think like most people, it depends what you're traveling for.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm going with my wife to Napa, bed and breakfast would be awesome. If I'm going with my family to, wherever, a beach, we're in Florida. If I'm going to watercolor or, Alice Beach or something, then vacation rental's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we're out. Our team is remote right now, and so I can be wherever. So my wife and I are in Carmel for the month, and I'm working from there, and it's been great. And it's just my wife and I, but we didn't stay in a B&B. We stayed in a VR because we've had people out every week coming to Carmel to see us and check it out. It's a great place.
Yeah. It's good when you can balance the, choice of inventory for the occasion, obviously.
And I think everyone does that, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Here, we're in a hotel for this
Yeah.
conference.
I always tell people, they're like, what do you pick, a short-term rental or a hotel? And I'm like, mostly a hotel, but it depends on the trip. It really does. So, Eric, I'm really just overall curious, again, I'm just wowed by your history and experience with the success and being a founder that's able to do it twice. I think that speaks volumes. And everything you're saying right now is, listeners, viewers probably watching are hopefully signing up at bnbfinder right now, okay, this makes sense. If you had kind of one overall message and the theme for going into 2024 for the industry, operators are tired. It has been a kind of a OTA war. They're, trying to feel like, or not trying to feel, but not feeling like it's a real partnership recently, with a lot of changes happening with policies and regulation, but then also, the OTAs making decisions on their behalf they really shouldn't be. It's not their business to do. So what's the overall theme that you would have for anyone going into 2024 for the industry as a whole?
Yeah, that's a great question, Will. That wasn't in the pre-question list I got. No,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
teasing. There was no list. I think it would be the same sort of regardless of the industry, which is if it's out of your control, don't give it the mental headspace and lose sleep and have anxiety, and live your life, control what you can control, spend time with loved ones, friends and family, and get on with what you're doing and deliver something awesome to the world. That applies in any industry that you're in. We're fortunate that we're in the hospitality industry, and to me that's the best industry there is, especially when you merge it with the internet, because it's like, wow, that's sort of cool, the things that we can do as an industry. I remember Philip Wolf from Focusrite. We see him here in Orlando every other year, because Focusrite used to bounce back and forth every year, and he's passed away now. But being able to see the evolution of the travel industry as it went offline to online has been super cool. I remember when Hotels.com was HRN, the Hotel Reservation Network.
Yeah.
It was a toll-free number.
Yeah.
It's so yeah, it's in any industry. Just be passionate about life, take time off, be with friends and family.
Take time off.
Yeah, take time off. Everybody, I think, at this conference needs to really absorb that.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure talking with you, and we can't wait to see what B&B Finder does in the next year.
Thank you, guys. I got to go. Magic Kingdom just opened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.